When it comes to Star Citizen, it continues to amaze me that they are completely incapable of putting out an actual game. As much as I harp on about Studio Wildcard, Snail Games, etc., the absolutely atrocious coding of Arc, the multitude of issues that the game has, at least Studio Wildcard put out something. Sure, I harp on about the lack of hitting their development milestones, their ETAs, their self-imposed deadlines, and I certainly harp on about the terrible coding and whatnot, but at least they put something out, and I commend them for that at least. You know, credit where it's due. But Star Citizen continues to be an absolute shit show. In 2012, they started raising the money for this game, 2011, 2012. So this game has been in funding for almost 7 years at this point. 7 years. But with $165 million attained through Kickstarter, and a game that hasn't even come out yet, you have to wonder where that money is going. You just have to. And people are still throwing money at this. This is not something that I think people understand. They're throwing away good money after bad. You know the game is in dire straits because they attempted to make it almost impossible to get a refund no matter how much you put in. In California, somebody actually had to threaten to involve the Attorney General and sue with the backing of the state to get Robert Space Industries to agree to a refund of about $1,000. $1,000 out of $165 million. And why was that? Because they were legitimately afraid that they would be unable to stymie the flow of people demanding refunds, and they would be well within their right to do it. Not too long ago, Crytek filed a lawsuit against Robert Space Industries and Cloud Imperium Games for breach of contract in that instead of using the CryEngine renderer, they decided to move to Amazon's Lumberyard, I believe it's called. I don't even freaking remember. But that's all but died. And it's good for Cloud Imperium Games that it did, because if it didn't, one of the things that would be demanded during discovery is what's happened with all this money. And that had to have frightened them more than anything, that now they would be held accountable for each dollar they spent. But $165 million largely through Kickstarter. This is a completely crowdsourced game, ladies and gentlemen. This is not like Ark, where they sold early access to a game that was, well, it certainly wasn't finished, but at least they were putting out a game. At least they were showing us that they had the idea going. World of Warcraft, for example, had a budget of $200 million for upkeep and development. Now, hold on. I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of money. That's more than's being spent on, well, Star Citizen. But that was for the first 4 years after deployment, for general upkeep of servers, for development of new content. This was after the game had already come out. EverQuest had a budget of $3 million. So $165 million before a game has even come out. Robert Space Industries could fly to Malta. They could fly to Russia, just bank that money, be like, who cares now? Who really cares at this point? And there'd be nothing that could be done. The newest bullshit to come out of this new Star Citizen ship pack unlocks nearly every vessel in the game for $27,000. It gets better if you're reading that byline. It costs $1,000 just to be able to view the purchase page. You want to buy a ship? You got to fork over $1,000 to see what you can buy. Just to be able to get a look, just to do a little window shopping, you have to pay $1,000. They think there's some type of high-end jewelry boutique. They think there's some type of actual business that has a history of putting out a quality product. Chris Roberts has banked on the nostalgia for the Wing Commander series. Everybody I have spoken to who has put money into this has said, well, he made Wing Commander. This has to be as good. And you know what? Everything I've seen, it's a project that is very, very ambitious. I will grant him that. But at some point, you would think this game would have left alpha within the last 2 years minimum. And it hasn't. Because he's promising more and more and more. How else are they getting money? Starter packages like we've seen. Selling the spacecraft. Prices ranging from $45 to $2,500 each. You can get packages of the spacecraft for $15,000. Upgrades for previously purchased ships. That's right. In order to upgrade a ship that you spent real life money on, you pay more money. Certificates to claims of land for $50 to $100 that isn't even out yet. They are essentially writing you IOUs. Subscriptions to their videos and stuff for $10 to $20 a month. What? They are making you pay to see what you paid for. Think about that for a second. Not only does it take $1,000 just to view the purchase page, but in order to see the videos they're putting out for stuff that you probably paid for, you have to pay $10 to $20 a month. MTXs, an in-game shop, pre-orders, branded merchandise for a game that, once again, is not even out. So if this game doesn't come out, congratulations, you bought merchandise for nothing. It's like the people who might have bought the Patriots t-shirts and jerseys for the last Super Bowl and, you know, they lost. Tickets to events like CitizenCon. There are so many things that they are trying to make money with, and they still have not put out an actual product. This is why people like Jim Sterling and Sid Alpha and myself have been saying developers like this bank on the low intelligence, the low IQ, the people that can spend money because they have it, but not the intelligence. Game companies like EA look at this and go, holy crap, there are so many stupid people with lots of money that we could easily start making money and offer little to nothing. And this is why they get away with it. This is what puts it in their mind to begin with. And then they go through with it. And the rest of us are left here going, where did we go wrong? I haven't put a cent into Star Citizen. I've bitched and moaned about this absolutely abysmal marketing strategy. It's working for them. They're making money. But what happens if they don't deliver? What happens if what they deliver is less than what is promised? Diablo 3 made a lot of promises, and there was a lot of backlash when many of those promises were not followed up on, when it was an absolute shit show of a game. This is going to be no different. If Chris Roberts does not give the players who paid for this what they were told they would get, the lawsuits will be amazing. Because people will sue over this. You know people are going to buy the pack for $27,000. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I'd pay $1,000 if I had it just to look at it and then do a chargeback immediately. I would take screenshots of everything, do an immediate chargeback. Just to show people exactly what's going on here. Because this is a travesty for the entire gaming world. Not just the players, but indie developers as well, because Robert Space Industries is an indie developer for all intents and purposes. I would be absolutely dismayed as an indie developer if I saw something like this happening, because this erodes the trust that many players will have of early access games and indie developers in general. Let's read this story itself. Star Citizen backers looking to build their own fleet can now buy a new ship pack containing 117 craft, nearly every ship in the game, along with 163 extra items, including upgrades, skins, and in-game posters. It's a mere $27,000. Yep, you read that right. I tell you to click on the link for the Legatus pack, but you'll only be able to view the page if you've already spent $1,000 on the open world sim. So you have to spend $1,000. It doesn't say if you have to spend $1,000 for that or you have to spend $1,000 total. I'll click on this link just to see what's going on. Yep, you can't see anything. I mean, let's be honest here. I'll go to the support. This is the absolutely, there's nothing. You have to sign, create an account, you have to pay money, and then you go from there. That's, I mean, that's absolutely shitty. Going back, I suppose if any game will tempt fans to spend the kind of money that's normally reserved for buying a real-life car on in-game items, it'll be Star Citizen. It has raised nearly $200 million from crowdfunding since it launched a Kickstarter in 2012, and it's still pulling in big money. Fans poured $35 million into it last year alone, which means that on average they were pulling in about $3 million a month last year. $3 million a month. That is more than many small-time MMOs are making, even though they've got an actual game out there. Which was double the amount raised by all video game Kickstarter projects combined in a year. It also started selling virtual plots of land for $100 a pop. If you want to see everything that's in the Legatus pack without spending $1,000, then head over to this forum page for a rundown. Let's go over it there. What's in there? Yeah, I ain't reading all this. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna do it. But you know, that's a lot of words just to say nothing. I mean, I'm being honest with you. That's a lot of words just to say nothing. At the end of the day, the players are the ones who have to say this is unacceptable. There are plenty of people saying it's acceptable. That's why they're still making money to this day, despite giving us very little, if anything. You got a playable demo for all intents and purposes, and that's about it. You have nothing for this game. 6 years in development, and once again, I'm not saying that we should have a full product now, but it should have entered at least beta by now. It should have. But more and more, they keep promising other things. They keep promising new games, such as Star Marine or whatever the frack it's called. We have Squadron 42. At what point do people start saying, you know what, I want my money back? People are already doing it. But once those big fans, the ones who paid thousands of dollars, multiple thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, start saying, you know what, Chris, I'm tired of being jerked around. Because let's keep this in mind, ladies and gentlemen. You are not a stockholder. You are not going to see returns on the $27,000 you put in. Because no matter how much they try and tell you that you are going to get all this stuff, it's still at the end of the day virtual product. It's virtual. It's pixels. And every game has in their terms of service and end user license agreement that they can terminate your access to the game for any reason or no reason at all, which means if you spend 27 grand on this game, Robert Space Industries can and may come in at some point and say, too bad, so sad, you can no longer play. Keep that in mind.